Excellent. I forgot to add our live stream, so I'm doing it now. And I
Okay.
think we're live, so I need to apologize to everyone. I am pulling this together on the fly. It shouldn't take long. It'll take all of like a half minute. Oh, did it do it? It did it. Okay, so that's weird. Anyway, hey, I'll take it. So welcome to another Run Wild with Us, Ask Us Anything. I'm Lisa Kastner. I'm here with one of our amazing editors, Rod Gilly, and we are typically here. Oh, we have another gentleman. We have the fantabulous Ben White. And hey guys. And we are here with you guys on Thursdays between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern time to answer any old questions that you may have. It can be about writing, publishing, the craft of writing. Hey, Margaret, awesome to see you. It could be, honestly, it doesn't have to be about any of those things. It could be, hey, Ben, why do you have so many books behind you? Or what's your leather chair about? Do you actually
Neighbor's
sit in
house.
it? It's your neighbor's house? That's a great answer. But yeah, it could be whatever you want. So, if you do have questions for us, just go ahead, toss them in the chat, and we will be more than happy to answer them. We'll take turns. I usually will repeat whatever the question is, and then we'll, take a moment to respond. CJ says, "Hey everyone, hey CJ, as always, fabulous to see you." So until someone has a question for us, I don't know, Ben, Rod, how was your week so far? I don't know, Ben.
Okay. So far, so good. I made it to Thursday.
Woohoo!
I know. And it's been productive. We're wrapping up a semester, 1 week to go after this one.
Oh, not bad.
And I'm continuing on the breakdown book with my process of uh, polish, polish.
Okay. How about you, Rod?
And
How's it going? Oh, sorry.
Oh,
no, it's okay. Right, go.
well, it's been a typical week, I guess. I've been very busy, and I tend to stay that way. Interacting with a whole lot of writers on social media, sharing what little knowledge I have, gaining a lot from them, learning a lot, and telling everyone if you want to know anything and everything about the industry, come on here and talk to Lisa Kastner.
And Ben White and Rod Gilly
Well,
and
definitely
Peter
Ben
Wright
White.
and Cody Cisco. So, Renegade Drummer says, "Hey y'all, I'll be bouncing in and out of the stream, but I hope you all have a lovely time." Well, thank you, Renegade Drummer. As always, it is fabulous to see you. And your best buddy here, Margarita, says hi too. And my week has been crazy. Lots of drama that I can't talk about, but let's just say I will have earned my taco lunch tomorrow. We'll just put it that way. And there might be an actual margarita involved as well, but it's definitely been an earned week. Um, yeah, Margarita, doesn't she look so sweet? Little do you people know. On the positive front, this week we finally got our living room fully together. So for those who may not be familiar, back in when we had hurricanes in December of 2022, our ceiling fell in our living room, and thereby it subsequently rained as well in our living room. And we have been in a battle with the insurance company for the past almost year and a half to get the ceiling, roof, and floor all replaced per our insurance policy. and for gosh knows how reason, I mean, I know I have my own opinions, as does a million other people, as to why it took this long, but we finally got it done. I finally have my living room. I promised on TikTok that I would post about when it's all done, and I will do that probably later this week. So, but literally this morning at 11 a.m., we got all of our furniture back and in place. So, it's a nice relaxing spot again instead of this stressful, why do you have a hole in your ceiling? So it's very, very cool. Caroline says, hey guys, great to see you. Caroline, as always, it is amazing to see you as well. I'm also, oh, thank you. And she says, so happy for you, Lisa. Thank you so much. I've actually had a few friends reach out to me and they're like, you realize you have to have a party now. So I'm like, okay, cool, game on. Admittedly, I'm more of a fall person for parties. So when we have one, I'll put it that way, it'll probably be like October, November timeframe. Plus, I'm going to be traveling a lot because I'll be at the American Library Association's conference. I'll be at the LA Times Festival of Books. I'll be in Chicago for the IPG's sales conference. I also am going to be. It's finally been announced, so I've been waiting to talk about this. I was asked to be the commencement speaker at Drexel University's Bachelor of Arts and Sciences graduation this year. So they put out the press release, so and so I'll be in Philly like the middle, it's on June 14th, so I'll be in Philly for about a week for that. And then we're also doing another major announcement in partnership with Drexel University the beginning of May, and so I'll be in Philly again for that. So between like now and I want to say August, uh if my calendar's not booked, then it just means I'm probably home sleeping. So so we will definitely get our party on again, like I said, probably like October. What we could do it is we could do it in the guise of the book launch for Family Pack meets holy crap, I finally have a ceiling. We could do it that way. So CJ, Margaret, Carolyn, they all say congratulations again. Thank you guys so much. I also finished working on the novel with the author who's from Africa. So that one's in the works. I am a little more than halfway through a murder mystery, and I'm looking forward to getting that tied up. And I finished, and I'll get the first round of revisions out to the author. I'm hoping it's in the next 2 weeks, something like that. And then I'm also working on a short story collection that let's just say the author and I may not be in agreement as to some of the changes. So it's someone with whom Ben has worked with before. So I went to him and said, okay, so what's the best approach? Which, by the way, guys, that may sound weird, but it is one of the best ways I know of to, if you are in conflict with somebody, usually just means you're viewing things two different ways, right? It's not, at least unless someone really likes conflict, and there are people who are like that, don't get me wrong, but 9 times out of 10 is just that you're talking like this, right? So that's why I went to Ben and I was like, dude, can you help me out? Like this is what I'm sensing, this is what I'm getting from it. Can you give me some guidance? So I'm trying to wait until I'm not so I want to finish at least the murder mystery before I tackle the short story collection, so I can really focus, because I feel like he's an author who needs the focus, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like there's some authors that you send something off and they're like, yep, I'm great, and you're good. And then there are other authors who are really, really emotionally tied to their stories, and they have a really hard time seeing what you're trying to share with them, so that their stories can be the best that they can be for all readers, right? Or for their potential audiences. So that usually takes a lot more focus. Caroline says, I'll be in Pennsylvania, New Hope in October. Wow, that's amazing. I used to love the New Hope area. It's a very cool area. Margaret said, Cody and I are near the finish line. Yay! That is awesome. Cody is another one of our amazing editors. Margaret, I have no doubt that what the work you guys are putting into it is going to be well worth it. I am positive it's amazing. So I think those are like I mean, we've got tons going on. And we've also we've got a few authors that, again, they have some really interesting things going on from a promotions perspective that I think we're probably going to have some special live streams regarding, so that, you guys can really focus on it. Anyway, but with that, I think, Rod, you had something that you wanted to bring forward to everybody, right?
Well, thought and rattling around in my head. I guess that qualifies. I have quite a bit of interaction with authors on social media. And of course, I'm a little writer too. And we're all in the same boat that it seems that marketing your brand and marketing your book is a complete mystery to virtually every writer. And I've done as much research as time allows for. I try to get in at least a couple of hours of research a day. And everything, articles, videos, various documents, even some of those ads that are probably not the best thing to follow. But one thing they all have in common is very vague answers and sometimes just straight up silliness. And for an author, I think any author, no matter what their level of success and experience, but definitely a new author, we're wading around in the water wondering, where are the sharks? Where are the cliffs? Am I going to drown any second? What can I do? How in the world can I let the world know that I'm out here and that my book is coming? And I think I don't know. I don't like to say definitive things, but I think I speak for many writers. What do I do? So I was hoping you guys could shed some light on the mysterious topic of marketing yourself and your book so that you can help your publisher do that thing they do and you can actually be active in your own success. So what do you guys think? Any thoughts?
And don't look at me, Ben. You're starting this one. I can always tell when you're like, go.
I think there's the all of the above approach. It's any idea you have is worth trying, and because it really comes down to a magic wand kind of effort to get it in the hands of the right person, that it just takes off, and there's no science to it. That we've seen a lot of social media posts and outreaching and public readings, and it does no better than another book with none of that. But then we've seen some with no effort at all, just get in the right place at the right time, and it takes off. So I think the key to the approach is making sure that you have an approach. And if the more effort you put in, of course, the more effort you should see. We're not guaranteed, but if you don't put any effort in, then that may be what you get out. But local newspapers can help you out. They're always looking for feature stories on local authors, local libraries, local reading groups, local writers groups. The network, if you have an MFA network, it's there, or just a writers network. It doesn't have to be a formal education network. It's just these are people that I trust and talk to about writing, and get it in their hands, and it may take off from there. So there's no if there was a formula, you wouldn't ask the question.
Right.
So the question wouldn't need to be asked. So there's just that shotgun approach of there's no bad idea. Get your title out there, get your name out there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I want to say 15, 20 years ago, there was more of a formula behind it that I'd say really established authors used a lot. And that included hiring a publicist, just to be clear, right? Because there's some stuff, I mean, a lot of this is, it's not just sending it out to every reviewer on the planet. It's that reviewer knows who you are and they trust you. And that's the same with bloggers. It's the same with magazines. It's the same with newspapers, right? And I think that's why, 15, 20 years ago, you started seeing a lot of like, hey, you need to build a brand, you need to build a reputation, so that you would stand out. So that when you did send things out, people paid greater attention to you, right? But to Ben's point, it's so much of it is you don't try, you don't get, and you really don't know what will make you hit. I mean, when we started Running Wild, we went around and asked some pretty major authors, like, what was that magic formula, right? And what keeps you prominent? And it's really interesting because I want to say every single one had the same answer. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what did it, right? So, like Alma Katsua, who wrote, I think her first book was The Hunger, and it went out. When it went out at auction. She got an insane amount of money up front, right? And her popularity and like when word got out about the how it went to auction and how much she got for it, that made it go viral. Now there are plenty of other books that do well in their upfront that it didn't have that same effect, right? But she's still quite prominent. I mean, her writing is insanely gorgeous, right? And she tells a fantastic tale based on reality, you know, like real things that occurred in history. But there are plenty of other writers who do similar things, and it didn't do that. And by the way, this was her second career. She had a complete career that she retired from and then decided to get into writing, right? And then, there's like the Stephen Kings who, and only after Carrie hit did all of a sudden you find out like he was ready to commit suicide. Like he was an alcoholic. He was down and out, right? And, he had submitted that thing I can't say a million times, hundreds of times, if not thousands. And I think it was his wife who picked it up and said, "Are you like you seriously? You're going to give up now?" Right? And was like, and made him dust it off, do one more revision and send it back out, right? And like he just needed that wake up call. And for whatever reason, it was that like 1001st point of him sending it out for potential representation as well as publication that did it. Who the frig knows, you know? Jonathan Mayberry, he'd already had multiple careers, and he was convinced since he was in high school that he would be a journalist. That's all he wanted to do. And then for whatever reason, he decided to broach creative writing. And his wife, he cut a deal with his wife and she said, "All right, I'm going to give you 2 years," right? And by the way, I want to say he was 48, 49 when he decided to do this, and his wife had already retired. So she said, "All right, look, I'll take a full-time job. You got 2 years, buddy. 2 years to knock that baby out, and and then we'll see what happens." Right? And by the way, this is an infamous story. He tells it everywhere. So I'm not, I mean, he can come beat me up later, but I don't care. So I've known the man 24 years, whatever. And, so she gave him that time that he needed to really focus on his first novel. And another one, right? I mean, it got picked up when it went out. It won a Stoker Con award for first book, right? I mean, it did beautifully. He was very lucky. He got advice from Stephen King on how to handle his career after that. And he was another one who hired a publicist. And by the way, that's not the book that made him. That's not the book that got him his New York Times bestseller. It was, I don't know which, like in terms of like subsequent titles, but it was the book that he wrote as a now I can't remember, but it was in coordination with the movie The Werewolf. So it was based on the script of The Werewolf. And that's the one that was the first one that got him his first New York Times bestseller list, right? And so that's really the one that I'd say catapulted him from a pop culture and a commercial perspective. Before that, I mean, he'd won plenty of awards. People knew who he was, like within the, I guess I would call them community, right? So those who are like hardcore readers, hardcore writers, those who, because, to Ben's point too, everybody, to impolitely put it, stalks everybody else, right? Like you're always looking for who's the next big thing, who's got immense talent that maybe they're not being, they just haven't hit whatever that next level is, right? And this is really, 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 really common. A lot of times they do it by searching for anthologies, for collections, right? They go to their favorite magazines like One Story, to find, the next big name. So like there is no formula for it. I mean, there is, if you Google search, you can find there's a book launch template that there are different variations to it. There's certain themes to it as well. It's usually like 6 months, 90 days, 60 days, 30 days, 2 weeks, day of is the basic timeline for it. And there are recommendations like, when do you want to ask for book reviews? When do you want to ask for blurbs? When do you want to start posting your book cover on social media? To help kind of build the momentum and how to build your reputation. That's the only thing that I can think of that's like a commonly known across the industry. But again, it's very rare that your first book, that's the one you'll just take off, right? It's almost always a partnership with the author and the publisher, and almost every book that I know of today that does take off, they've still hired a publicist, or they themselves had a publicity and marketing background, so they already had connections to help the name of their book become known. Does that make sense? Hey Peter, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
And I can't believe you took the dare and put a question mark next to your name. I think that's freaking hilarious. So Rod brought forward a great question about, like, how do you, if you're a new author and you're trying to become known, like, build your reputation, build your fans, all that kind of thing.
Mhm.
How do you do it? Like, because everything that they found online seems to be like vague answers that are kind of like non-answers. So what are your recommendations? And honestly, Peter is a great resource for this as well, because his wife Kathy is a brilliant marketer. So he can kind of like whisper to her down the lane.
Well, basically what she was saying is book signings and readings are a big score, as everybody here knows. Getting your book out to key people in the industry who will blurb it, who will bring it up on their podcast, who will talk about it during their whatever, or write about it. Just basically get the word out as surreptitiously or as loudly as you possibly can, because that's how it's going to spread. Because one person tells 3 people, 3 people tell 10 people, 10 people sell, and so on and so on. So it's all about word of mouth, because if it's just strictly advertising, there's nothing behind it to say this is why you want to read this book. It's like, hey, Mark just told me about this book. I really want to check it out. He really enjoyed it, and it goes from there, and then it just spreads. That's what I would recommend just off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what you guys have already come up with, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting too, because I would say, again, 15, 20 years ago, you could rely pretty heavily on word of mouth, or even on that, that 90-day plan that I mentioned that includes the whole word of mouth thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually saw an article, I think it was in Publishers Weekly, where it talked about, for whatever reason in today's market, there's so many great stories out there. Most authors don't hit until their 3rd book. So I don't know if it's because like so many people come out and they publish a book and then they're like, yeah, dude, that was way too hard. F that, I'm out. I don't know. So they never really bother to build a fan base. I don't know what's causing it, but yeah, usually it's now the stats show it's typically by the 3rd book. So if you're new into it and you're frustrated and you're like, I just can't seem to find someone to place a bet on me, don't give up. 1, and 2, if your first book doesn't hit, it's not a big deal, right? You just got to keep pounding it. Because again, think about how you pick up books, right? So to Peter's point, your pal Mark reads something and says, oh my God, this was the best thing I've ever seen in my life. You go and pick it up, and it turns out you agree, and it turns out this author actually has 5 other books. What do? I know what I do. I go and pick up, if not all 5, at least a couple of them, right?
For sure.
Those become my priority. Like, that's what I'm reading.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Get to see the progression of their talent and their craft as they go from book to book to book. Mm-hmm. And plus you get to really immerse themselves in their language and their words and their images and whatnot and their story. So, and then, it's a good thing to read the people who are blurbing the books as well, who are on the covers, to read what their books have, what books they've written, kind of thing. So
yeah. Oh, that's totally true. I mean, because it'll give you a sense of like who's blurbing them. Will also kind of give you a feel for potentially the kind of writing that, if you've never read them before, what their writing style is, right? Because it would be unusual that they would get blurbed by someone who is so completely out of, unfamiliar to their own style. You know what I mean? So, right. Yeah. Caroline says, put yourself out there. Honestly, yes, you have to do good writing. And absolutely, if you don't ask, you don't get. Absolutely. Elizabeth says, great. Working on the 3rd one now. The 1st doesn't come out until October, though. That's okay. You just keep working. That's all. I mean, it takes a long time. And it takes a long time.
Yeah, I love that phrase. You can't get if you don't ask. Because
yeah, exactly.
You gotta keep trying. You gotta keep banging on doors. It looks impossible. The mountain looks very tall, but you get there eventually. And sooner or later, you catch a break. If you give up, you're done, because you're never gonna get there. So you gotta keep on working it. Gotta keep on sending out the queries. Gotta keep on signing up the book readings and the readings and book signings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. We actually had an author who there was something about his book that reminded him of Bobby Ann Mason's work. So he reached out to her for a blurb, and although she was busy and said she couldn't do it, she was very supportive and encouraging. And so it didn't slow him down any. He said, okay, I reached out, I asked, she said no, but she was supportive. So that's encouraging. So he kept going. So don't, if you think, if you've got the the way to contact an author, famous or not famous, go ahead and reach out to them.
Oh yeah, I mean, I couldn't support that more. I mean,
No
don't
only
ask,
stings
don't
for a
get.
little while.
Well, I mean, if you're smart and someone says no, you say,
No
okay,
sting at all.
check it off the list and go to the next one, right? You know, just make sure your list of folks to approach is probably double what you actually think you need, right? Like maybe 3 or 4, if that, you know, and just try them, see what'll happen. So, which reminds me, I was much better about that with my first book than my second one. I need to make another list. So if people have suggestions for folks for me to reach out to get blurbs from, let me know. I'm very open to recommendations. So
it's like when we were talking about editing Far Out, Lisa, when we had that online discussion. Somebody heard it in Louisville, and there was a book club that said this is our book for June. You know, sounds interesting. This is our book for June, and they got a box full of Far Out ready to go for their book for June, and because you don't know who's listening, you just don't know.
Yeah, it's true, absolutely. And actually, Elizabeth says another author also suggested joining book clubs. You know, honestly, that is very true. I'm gonna, this is gonna sound, people are gonna get tired of me saying this, and I don't care, but there really is a lot of value in hiring a publicist, because like they do stuff like that. Like that is their job. And if you are like most writers, you've already got a day job, if not a part-time job, working and writing, and you know, keeping up with building up your brand online. If you add on top of it all of the stuff, like, you know, reaching out to book clubs and reaching out to book bloggers and reaching out to all these different forums, it's spot on, but you will have no hours left in the day. So, you know, either, you know, finding someone that you can hire to help you, or, you know, leveraging your immediate network and seeing who will partner with you on getting stuff out. I really think that it is really, really, really a smart play. And also, don't devalue. There are a lot of publicists nowadays that have newsletters because they acknowledge they're not cheap, right? I mean, this is what they're doing for a living. So if you acknowledge that, and that in their newsletters, they'll talk about, look, here are recommendations. If you're an author and you don't have a lot of money, you know, here are some things that you can do that can have a greater impact than if you try like a broad stroke and like an unfocused approach, right? So yeah, I definitely agree with everyone's points. Caroline says, connect with people on some social media, build your base, but you have to want to engage in relationships. Gone are the days where you can be a recluse that just writes. I hate to say it, but she's right. And I mean, you can be a recluse, but what that means is you have somebody else who's managing your social media, to be honest.
Exactly.
Yeah, someone else is handling your newsletter. So
I know a New Mexico author who changes his Facebook picture every week or 2 weeks, just because it sends out a notice to everyone he's connected to that he's changed his picture, and he gets them to have to acknowledge that, oh yeah, he's still there. What's he working on? And maybe they stop by his webpage or wherever he is, but it's a ploy to keep his name fresh, and he does it on purpose just for that reason.
wow.
And he just changes the picture of his Facebook post.
Now that's smart.
Mm-hmm.
That's very smart.
I was thinking that I'm just looking at Facebook. The friends that I have, you know, many of them are people that I know, but there's a lot of them, a good chunk that I don't know personally, and some of them are pretty famous authors. And I just said, "Do you want to be friends? Do you want to network?" So, I mean, I'm friends with Francine Prose. I've got some other big names that have major sales, plus the schools that I've gone to, the people that have their own careers now. It's just like everything that you can compile to hit their networks, to reach the people that they know, and the people that they influence.
Yeah, and don't limit it just to authors. I mean, I've got Paul Stanley from KISS who's friended me on Twitter. I have no idea why Paul Stanley from KISS was like, yeah, let me friend her. But, why not? So, if you've got someone that you're a fan of and they're a public figure, you don't know, they might be a big reader for all you know. Why not? Reach out to them. Oh, and also, it can't hurt to ask them if they'd give you a blurb. Like, can you imagine if I actually did? I didn't do that, but I guess I could now. I should now. Like if I reached out to Paul Stanley and went, "Hey, I write this book series. Would you be willing to check it out and maybe give me a blurb?" If I had blah 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 by Paul Stanley from KISS, dear Lord, like all the hardcore KISS fans, they would be all over that mess, right? And clearly I have issues because I'm just now thinking about this. But anyway, but I mean, it's true, right? Like there are certain people who have such a hardcore following that if you got a blurb from them, or even if they just said, yeah, this is kind of cool, you might be surprised at the uplift that you get. So,
or if they tweeted it, put it on Facebook.
Oh yeah, big time. Absolutely. Taya says, love that Ben has an exclamation point at the end and Peter has a question mark. I know. They have been joking about that forever. I just love they finally did it. CJ says, this is all great advice. I've just started diving into the subject in preparation for my book's launch next year. Yeah, and honestly, by the way, if you're one of our authors, we actually provide you there's a workshop we recorded about marketing, author marketing, and also what we provide. We also gave we give you a folder full of templates for you to use, including one that covers that 6-month, 90 days, 60 day, 30 day, 2 week week of format. We give you a ton of materials. Excuse me. I think we also even give you distribution lists that you can use as a baseline for sending out to different magazines and newspapers and so on. I mean, it's our distribution list, so clearly we're using it as well. But it was funny. I was talking to a dear friend, Natalie, from one of the big agencies, and we were joking about the fact that it's hilarious when you talk to some people and they're like, well, I need to know who you're sending to so I don't send it to them too. They don't know. I mean, think about the number of emails you get. And if you are in a newspaper or a magazine, or if you're with some kind of major house of some sort, take the number of emails you get in a day and quadruple it, if not 10 times. There is no effing way that this person is going to go, oh my God, I got this already. Screw them. They're like looking for, like, is this a great story? This looks really interesting. Cool. Right. And if they're getting it from a publicist or they're getting it from someone they already have a relationship with, it is just 10 times more likely that they'll actually open the dang email. So it can't hurt. What hurts is when it's clearly spam, and then they're like, I don't have time for this. Again, just think about how you respond to the different kinds of emails you receive. We're all human beings,
Mm-hmm.
They're going to respond similarly. So, Elizabeth says, is there a group that puts out lists of reputable publicists? There are so many shady people out there. Well, I can tell you that I know Dana Kay Publicity. We have a couple of authors who've used her organization, and when I mentioned her organization to our distributor, IPG, they were thrilled that they were using Dana Kay. So let me see if I can find her website's URL. And then the oh no, that's not it.
Poets and Writers has a lot of lists, but I'm not sure if they have one for publicists or agents.
Yeah,
They might have Poets and Writers. They online. You don't have to get the magazine. You can pull it up online.
Yeah, that's true. So there, I just gave you Dana's, and then there is another publicist that was actually recommended by other publicists who I'm very familiar with, and they have an amazing list. Now, you know, I'm giving all these again based on what I know. Oh, that's it. Books Forward. I also want to recommend that when you are looking for a publicist, look at a couple things. One, yes, you want to get recommendations, right? Like we're doing now. And to Ben's point, right? You can probably go on like publishers, Poets and Writers, probably Publishers Weekly. But look at what they call success. Because some might be great at building your brand and building your reputation, but their authors may not necessarily it may not have quantified itself into like New York Times bestseller or USA Today bestseller or whatever, right? Some may be great in getting attention for their authors in specific genres, but not other genres. So you may want to, and honestly, I recommend this when you're hiring anybody. Ask them like, or you're going to partner with anybody. Ask them if they're willing to recommend some of their more recent clients to you that you can talk to. And if they're hesitant or they don't have anybody, to me that's a huge red flag, right? I mean, honestly, anybody with any dang sense is going to be nervous to give names of people to recommend for you to talk to, because you don't know what they're going to talk about, right? They could talk about anything. But if they just won't give you names, that's a problem. So I don't know, Peter, Ben, Rod, do you guys want to piggyback on that at all?
There are a lot of publicists that will approach you in LinkedIn, and you screen them really well because they're from all over the world. They come from everywhere, and they'll tell you that they can get your book into 50,000 users. But I would still set your own goals and make sure you do your homework and research the company they represent or their work that they represent. They may be working independently. But I posted literary agents there. It's not necessarily publicists, but agents from Poets and Writers.
And honestly, they could help you too. Like the agents oftentimes will work in partnership with the publicist quite a bit. So yeah, sorry, keep going.
No, it's just there's a lot of them out there, but I think you still like for me, as a poet, if you sell 500 books, you're tremendous. But then if you pay for a publicist to sell those 500 books and you come out in the hole, you might as well just stay in the hole.
I would agree with that. I say definitely vet them, see what books they've repped before, see what those sales are like, make sure that they're on the up and up, because there are shady characters out there who will take your money and give you promises, make you feel like a big old book writer star, and not do anything for you but take your money.
I don't know, Rod, what do you think?
Well, as always, I'm the weakest mind here, but my initial reaction to the whole publicist discussion is that, at least where I am in my career right now, I've gone to publicist websites and did a little research. I think I've looked at about 20 25 so far.
Mhm.
And across the board, they were so far beyond my budget, I didn't have any chance of hiring them.
Mm.
So I can't say much to that. I will add to something you said earlier, sort of sidetracking the publicist. But if the author wants to get out there and you go to, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any of the major platforms, I would advise very wholeheartedly be genuine above all
Mm.
else. Be honest, straightforward. When I was younger, I worked in several, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I worked in several industries and I sold new cars for two different dealerships.
Mm.
And I have taken, at least 15 courses on sales back in those days. And there's one famous guy, I can't think of his name, but he was like super famous, and they would teach you things like, telling your customer, if you're rooting around and looking around your kitchen counter and you're digging in your pockets and you find your car keys, do you keep looking? Well, you already found your car. Here it is. Silly sales tactics like that
Mm.
that that I didn't like then. I actually got fired from a dealership because I was honest with a customer that they couldn't afford the car that my manager wanted me to sell to them.
Mm.
That was a real trend in the new car industry back then.
Mhm.
But yeah, go on the social media, especially if you can't afford publicists. But whatever you do, just present yourself as honestly as you can. Don't try to hard sell. Don't try tricky tactics. The few places that tried to explain how you can market your book, aside from emptying your pockets, they were just feeding you a bunch of 30-year-old sales tactics. Uh,
Mhm.
None of them work. None of them are right. So I'm sorry to be long-winded, but I think the strongest message that I personally can give to writers, definitely try to get out there. Lisa's right. If you don't, or I think Peter might have said it, they're both brilliant. But if you don't try, you're not going to get anywhere. So
Mm.
definitely, you got to get out there and do the best you can. But really, really keep your integrity. Be honest with people. You're not going to please everybody. Some people are going to give you some hard pushback, but that's in every industry. You just have to deal with it. Always be honest and always put yourself out there for who you really are. You'll find people that are like it, you know.
Mm.
But that's the best thing I can say in this whole subject because honestly, I don't have your all's knowledge. That's why I asked you the question. And I'll tell you what, and I think the audience would agree, the best answer I've heard yet for the marketing question has come from this conversation. I mean, you guys are on it, and I'm always impressed. But you'd be surprised. You can check it out yourself. The answer to how to market your brand and how to market your book, universally, as far as I've seen, the answers are very vague and don't really help you much. You mentioned what do they call templates?
Mm.
At least 20 templates I've downloaded. They all say the same thing, and if you've run any kind of business and made any kind of planning, you would have thought of that yourself.
Mhm.
I'm sure that there are people that's never run a business, never did any planning, and those templates are very helpful,
Mhm.
but they're not really the answer to how to pursue success. Now, Peter, of course, came up with some really freaking great stuff. I'm going to play this back and take notes, Peter. I promise.
Mhm.
And and Lisa, you're always brilliant. And Ben, what can I say? You sold 500 poems. You're a genius. Thank you for allowing me to speak, guys. I know I don't have much to add, but
Oh no, that was great, and thank you for the question. Because honestly, like Elizabeth has a follow-on. What are our thoughts on book trailers?
I love them.
Do you like when you see one? Do you follow up on it, or do you
Yeah.
just watch the trailer? Oh,
Oh, I
okay.
watch the trailer, and if it catches my interest, to me, it's just very much like a movie trailer.
Mhm.
I don't have no idea what other editors do, but when I'm working on someone's blurb, I like to think of it as like the voiceover on a movie trailer. How that guy encourages you, you want to see Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. It's going to be the best sequel ever,
Mhm.
whatever. But the blurb should reach out and grab the reader the same way those voiceovers grabbed the moviegoers. And so I've seen some really great book trailers that, yeah,
Mhm.
I actually went to Amazon and bought the book. And then I've seen some book trailers that maybe wasn't that great. Uh, I haven't had a lot of books out. I've only got the one published so far. But I intend to have a book trailer for every book I publish. And I recommend all authors do some form of it. I have no idea what kind of help's out there. I have found on Twitter there's many excellent artists out there that
Mhm.
could probably help you. There's a lot of really great artists. Uh, I've seen some fantastic artwork, even by some of the writers on Twitter. It's amazing.
Mhm.
So I mean, the resources are out there, uh, and I have found social media now. Peter mentioned Facebook. I don't have a big presence. Of course, I've got a Facebook page, but I'm not on that a lot. But I'm on Twitter quite a bit.
Mhm.
And I'll ask advice on Twitter. And in some cases, depending on what the subject is, I'll get 2,000 responses. There
Mhm.
are writers, editors, artists, pretty much any resource you need is out there, and they're more than happy to help you. And to your guys' point, all you got to do is ask. Don't be
Mhm.
shy. Don't be afraid. Jump out there and say, hey, what do you think? You guys are so right about that. And,
Mhm.
I think the resources are definitely out there. And there I go again. I'm sorry, Lisa.
It's okay. All right, Peter, what do you think? What do you think about book trailers?
I think whatever you can do to get your book to generate interest in your book is a good thing. And plus, for the younger readers, it's a visual audio experience that would pull you into the book, and it gives you some sort of a setting that's already created that the author wanted you to see as he or she imagined it in their head. So I think it's a great venue, great tool to use to get your book out there.
Cool.
Definitely.
How about you, Ben?
Yeah, I would ditto Peter there. It's we will take Far Out for instance. There was a book trailer for Far Out, and it generated a lot of interest, and I'm sure that the people who saw it may have shared it with people that Khalid didn't know, and grew it from there. So it's just one more opportunity to get it in the right hands. You never know if it's going to get to the right hands or not, but why not try it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
And
a lot of
and
noise
Of
out
course,
there, but if you're not part of the noise, then you won't get noticed.
yeah.
and don't forget, guys. I mean, part of it's I think Rod had mentioned this, the quality of it. So often, like, when you see, it's not really a book trailer, but like the book talk phase or phenomenon, it's really the author saying, "Hey, look at my book, isn't it fabulous?" Right? And they're giving a little bit of information regarding it, and they might give you a little backstory about it as well, and that's fun, right? But I mean, you can do it well, or you can also do it where the person gets really bored really fast, and they're like, you know what, I don't want to do this, I don't want to watch this, and you could get a professional um, video done. And again, though, it's going to come back to the quality of it, right? And is it something that's engaging where you're telling just enough about the story that the viewer's going to say, oh wow, that sounds really interesting, I want to check it out. You need to remember to actually have the link to click to for either the pre-order or the order. You'd be shocked at the number of people who forget to do that. And you want to make sure that you're leveraging it as much as possible. And what I mean by that, I don't mean email all your friends and say, oh look, I got a book trailer. I'm saying, find the right forums, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or whatever. And I know a lot of people who are like against ads. I honestly think like promotions or promoting your book, so like spend $20 on Facebook and have it to a target audience that's targeted based on, whatever demographics you specify. And you could have it in front of like, thousands of people. And, if it's targeted well, you're going to get a lot of click-throughs. And for those who may not be familiar, a click-through, it just means someone looked at whatever it is that you posted and they clicked on wherever you're pointing them to click. So it goes through, hence click through, to the site, in theory, that you've linked to that post. So, you know, it's not just creating a video trailer and then posting it somewhere and praying. It's actively getting people, you know, to go toward that and to view it, right?
I'd like
Uh,
to add real quickly that with a book trailer, I would recommend when you're creating it, because I like to make videos and stuff. And but when you're creating your trailer, think real clearly before you start. I do not want to make a sales pitch. I don't want to sell this pair of shoes.
mm,
Think more. I want to entertain the heck out of whoever's going to see this trailer
mhm,
and get them mouth watering to see more. That's
mhm.
what I want to do. I want to really show them how entertaining this story is. If you get that in your head and you start making your book trailer, I think you're going to make a much better trailer. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
I agree with that totally. Elizabeth asks, so how far ahead of a launch would you start running a book trailer? I don't know. Rod, you know, you're a big fan of book trailers. What do you think?
oh, I don't see anything wrong with running your book trailer about 2 months in advance, a month in advance at the closest.
Mm,
The sooner you start running it, the more people are going to see it. You don't want to beat people to death with it, so you want time to spread it out. You may show it, say, the first week of this month, the second week of that month, or something like that. You're going to spread it out because of what, I've done this in the past where I got a little overexcited, especially when I first started YouTube videos.
mhm.
And, I would crank that video out so often that people were like, geez, that's on again. You don't want to go there. So if you give yourself a month, maybe 2 months, and you can spread it out a little bit, spread it among different platforms. If you got a good quality product to begin with, and you spread it out where you're entertaining and not annoying,
Mhm.
that I think that's going to be the best possible formula. And anybody that knows me knows I can be a little annoying, but I'm just trying to do the best I can. But I do have to pull it back sometimes.
Got
So,
it. Yep.
so there you
How
go.
about Peter? What do you think? Because I know that you have exposure to this, especially uh, with Kathy.
I'm going to respectfully, excuse me, withhold my answer for now because somebody gave me homework that I got to do for the next week, so I
Oh,
can have something interesting and valuable to say after I have a
I
little
see.
conversation with Kathy. So I'll
Got
have
it.
more information about this next week for sure.
All right, that's fine. I got it. Ben, do
Is
you have
that a
anything that you want to
legitimate
add?
answer? I
Yeah,
could have been doing that for months.
years, man. You could have been doing that for years. Wasn't that a fabulous pivot? That was an awesome pivot.
That was nice. That was nice. I learned so much from Peter.
I know, me too. But sure, that's fine.
Yeah, but I would go ahead and once you have a pre-order date or a publication date, I would start then, because before that you're going to frustrate people. That looks really good. When can I get it? Oh, there's
Right.
no date when I can get it. I can't find it, and now you've made them mad at you. So once you have something concrete with a pre-order date or a publication date that's sure, that's when you would start not just a book trailer, but all that advertising and prepping your readers to keep it fresh on their mind. But you got the concrete date for them to have access to it.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with that. I actually I agree with everything I've heard so far. But yeah, definitely having that and checking. Like, you'd actually be surprised at the number of authors who've reached out to me and said, "Is my book available yet?" And I'm like, all I do is a Google search, and then I send them links that I found. And it's funny the number who don't realize they could have done that themselves. And a few of them, I mean, they when I do it, they're like, "Oh, okay." Right? So, be active. This again, all this comes down to is you as an author, or if you're editing an anthology, right? An editor, is that you are actively a participant in the promotions of whatever it is that you're putting out there. That's the bottom line. So, to Rod's point in the beginning, there is no formula. There is no magic wand, right? Nobody has some special powder that'll get you over that finish line. You've just got to actively participate and drive a lot of these activities. So,
Like Ben was saying, have a call to action for the
right.
bidders to do something.
Exactly. So with that, we are actually we are all dunsies. So I want to thank Peter and Rod and Ben and Elizabeth and Cree and Caroline and Margaret and all of the phenomenal people and CJ Teja who joined us. I hope to see you guys next week. And so until then, have a great one, guys.
Have a good week.